Now we, in the presence of the Buddha, hearing that Sravakas are predicted to attain perfect enlightenment, are extremely glad in our minds, and have obtained that which we have never experienced before. Unexpectedly, we now of a sudden hear this rare law. Profoundly do we congratulate ourselves on having acquired so great and goodly a gain, an inestimable jewel, without the seeking. We on this day have heard the Buddha's voice teach, and are ecstatic with joy at having obtained the unprecedented. The Buddha declares that we Sravakas will become Buddhas. His peerless collection of treasures we have received without seeking. The sons and daughters of the Buddha, hearing the law from us, day and night ponder over and with unflagging zeal practice it. Then the Buddhas will predict of them, "You in a future generation shall become Buddhas." The mystic law of all the Buddhas can only to bodhisattvas be expounded in full reality. Our leader saw and let us alone, because he looked into our minds. In his display of rarities, knowing those who delight in trifles, and by his tactfulness subduing their minds, he instructs them with the greater wisdom. Today we have obtained that which we have never had before, what we have not previously looked for. Now we have unexpectedly attained. World-honored one, now we have got the way, and got the fruit, and, in the faultless law, attained to clear vision. We, for long, having kept the Buddha's pure commandments, today for the first time obtain their fruit and reward. In the law of the law kings, having long practiced holy deeds, now we have attained to the faultless, peerless, great fruit. Now we are really hearers of the sound, who cause all beings to hear the sound of the Buddha way. The world-honored one, in his great grace, by things which are rare, has compassion for and instructs and benefits us. Through countless kotis of kalpas, who could repay him? Buddhas rarely appear with their infinite and boundless, inconceivably great transcendent powers. They are faultless and effortless, the kings of the law, who are able, for inferior minds, patiently to bide their time in this matter, and for common folk attached to externals, to preach as is befitting. Buddhas in the law attain to supreme power, knowing all living beings, with their various desires and pleasures, and with their powers, so, according to their capacities, by innumerable parables, they preach the law to them. The Tathagata is the king of the law. Whatever he declares is wholly free from falsity. He expounds all the laws by wise tactfulness. The law preached by him all leads to the stage of perfect knowledge. The Tathagata sees and knows what is the good of all the laws, and also knows what all living beings in their inmost hearts are doing. He penetrates them without hindrance. Moreover, in regard to all laws, having the utmost understanding of them, he reveals to all living beings the wisdom of perfect knowledge. Suppose in the 3,000 great thousandfold world there are growing on the mountains, along the rivers and streams, in the valleys and on the land, plants, trees, thickets, forests, and medicinal herbs of various and numerous kinds, with names and colors all different. A dense cloud spreading over and everywhere, covering the whole 3,000 great thousandfold world, pours down its rain equally at the same time. Its moisture universally fertilizes the plants, trees, thickets, forests, and medicinal herbs, and with their tiny roots, tiny stalks, tiny twigs, tiny leaves, their medium-sized roots, medium stalks, medium twigs, medium leaves, their big roots, big stalks, big twigs, and big leaves. Every tree, big or little, according to its superior, middle, or lower capacity, receives its share. From the rain of the one cloud, each, according to the nature of its kind, acquires its development, opening its blossoms and bearing its fruit. Though produced in one soil and moistened by the same rain, yet these plants and trees are all different. The Tathagata is also like this. He appears in the world like the rising of that great cloud. Universally, he extends his great call over the world of gods, men, and asuras, just as that great cloud everywhere covers the 3,000 great thousandfold region. In the great assembly he sounds forth these words, I am the Tathagata, the worshipful, the all-wise, the perfectly enlightened in conduct, the well-departed, the understander of the world, the peerless leader, the controller, the teacher of gods and men, the Buddha, the world-honored one. Those who have not yet been saved, I cause to be saved. Those who have not yet been set free, to be set free. Those who have not yet been comforted, to be comforted. Those who have not yet obtained nirvana, to obtain nirvana. I know the present world and the world to come as they really are. I am the all-knowing, the all-seeing, the knower of the way, the opener of the way, the preacher of the way. Come to me, all you gods, men, and asuras, to hear the law. At that moment, numberless thousand myriad kotis of classes of living beings came to the Buddha to hear the law. Thereupon, the Tathagata, observing the natural powers of all these beings, keen or dull, zealous or indifferent, according to their capacity, preached to them the law in varying and unstinting ways, causing them all to rejoice and joyfully obtain much profit. All these living beings, having heard this law, are comforted in the present life, and afterward will be born in happy states, where they will be made joyful by the truth, and also hear the law. Having heard the law, they are freed from hindrances, and according to their capacity in all the laws, they gradually enter the way. Just as that great cloud, raining on all the plants, trees, thickets, forests, and medicinal herbs, and according to the nature of their seed, perfectly fertilizing them so that each grows and develops, so the law preached by the Tathagata is of one form and flavor, that is to say, deliverance, abandonment, extinction, and finally the attainment of perfect knowledge. If there are living beings who hear the law of the Tathagata and keep, read, recite, and practice it as preached by him, their achievements will not enable them to understand their own nature. Wherefore? Because there is only the Tathagata who knows the seed, the form, the embodiment, and the nature of all these living beings, what things they are reflecting over, what things they are thinking, what things practicing, how reflecting, how thinking, how practicing, by what laws reflecting, by what laws thinking, by what laws practicing, and by what laws attaining to what laws. There is only the Tathagata who in reality sees, clearly and without hindrance, the stages in which all living beings are, just as those plants, trees, thickets, forests, medicinal herbs, and others do not know their own natures, superior, middle, or inferior. The Tathagata knows this unitary essential law, that is to say, deliverance, abandonment, extinction, final nirvana of eternal tranquility, ending in return to the void. The Buddha, knowing this, and observing the disposition of all living beings, supports and protects them. For this reason he does not immediately declare to them the complete and perfect wisdom. All of you, a most rare thing it is that you should be able to know the law preached by the Tathagata as he sees fit, and be able to believe and able to receive it. Wherefore? Because the law preached by the Buddhas, the world-honored ones, as they see fit, is difficult to discern and difficult to know. At that time, the world-honored one, desiring to proclaim this teaching over again, spoke thus in verse. The Law King who destroys existence appears in this world. According to the natures of all living beings, he preaches the law discriminately. The Tathagata is greatly to be honored and profound in wisdom. For long he has kept secret this essential truth, not endeavoring hastily to declare it. The wise, if they hear it, are able to believe and discern. The ignorant doubt and turn away, losing it perpetually. Therefore, according to their powers, I preach to them, with varied reasonings, to bring them to right views. It is like a great cloud, rising above the world, covering all things everywhere, a beneficent cloud full of moisture. Flashes of lightning shine and glint. The voice of thunder vibrates afar, bringing gladness and ease to all. The sun's rays are veiled, and the earth is cooled. The cloud lowers and spreads as if it might be caught and gathered. Its rain everywhere equally descends on all sides, streaming and pouring without stint, enriching all the land. On mountains, by rivers, in steep valleys, in hidden recesses, there grow the plants, trees and herbs. Trees, big or small, the shoots of all the ripening grain, sugar cane and grapevine, all these by the rain are fertilized and abundantly enriched. The dry ground is all soaked, and herbs and trees flourish together. From the one water which issued from that cloud, plants, trees, thickets, forests, according to their need, receive moisture. All the trees, superior, middle, inferior, all, each according to its size, grow and develop roots, stalks, branches and leaves, blossoms and fruits in their brilliant colors. By the pouring of the one rain, all become fresh and glossy. Just as their bodies, forms, and natures are divided into great and small, so the enriching rain, though one and the same, yet each flourish. In the same manner, the Buddha also appears in the world, like a great cloud, universally covering all things. And having appeared in the world, he, for the sake of all living beings, discriminates and proclaims the reality of all the laws. The great holy world-honored one, among the gods and men and all the other beings, proclaims this, saying, I am the Tathagata, the most honored among men. I appear in the world, just like a great cloud, to pour enrichment on all parched living beings, to free them from all misery, and so attain the joy of peace, joy in the world, and the joy of nirvana. With all your mind hearken to me. Come all of you here, and behold the peerless honored one. I am the world-honored one, who cannot be equaled. To give peace to all creatures, I appear in the world, and for the hosts of the living, preach the law, pure as sweet dew, the one and only law of emancipation and nirvana. With one transcendent voice I proclaim this meaning, constantly taking the great vehicle as my subject. I look upon all living beings everywhere with equal eyes, without distinction of persons, or mind of love or hate. I have no predilections, nor limitations or partiality. Ever to all beings I preach the law equally. As I preach to one person, so I preach to all. Constantly I proclaim the law, never occupied with aught else. Going or coming, sitting or standing, I never weary of pouring it abundantly upon the world. Like the rain enriching universally, honored and humble, high and low, law-keepers and law-breakers, those of perfect character and those of imperfect, orthodox and heterodox, quick-witted and dull-witted. With equal mind I reign the reign of the law unwearyingly. All living creatures, on hearing my law, according to their receptive powers, find their abode in their several places. The Buddha, by this parable, tactfully reveals, and with various expressions, proclaims the one law. But of the Buddha wisdom, it is as a drop in the ocean. I rain down the rain of the law, filling the whole world, the one essential law to be practiced according to ability. Just as those thickets, forests, herbs, and trees, according to their size, luxuriantly develop, the law of all Buddhas, ever by its essential oneness, causes all the worlds universally to gain perfect weal. Gradually, by its observance, all attain the way's fruition. By numerous reasonings and various parables, I reveal the Buddha way. This is my tactful method. All Buddhas do the same. What I have now said to you all is the veriest truth. The way in which you walk is the Bodhisattva way. By gradually practicing and learning, all of you will become Buddhas.